Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Deep Three Podcast. This is your host, Matt, joined as always by Sam, Kevin, and John. How's it going, boys?
As you can tell, mustache is gone, boys. It's the last episode. We are reborn. We're here for the new NBA season. November's done. Basketball season.
So you shaved in preparation to pray for the basketball fantasy gods. That's what I'm hearing out of this.
Oh, yes, for sure.
We just drafted 2 fantasy leagues, one on Friday and one 12 o'clock today. And you know what? I'm just gonna say this right now. Bad decisions were made.
Speak for yourself, man.
Yeah,
I'm
good. I'm good.
Yeah, speak for Kevin.
I want to briefly go into this, and then we can get into the show. John, what do you think was the worst mistake that you made for this draft?
God, there's a few that can really blow up in my face, but I think that the one that I'm the most stressed about, and it inspired a segment that we'll get to in a second, is James Harden as one of my keepers.
Dang.
Freaking out about it. Don't know if he's going to really play much basketball this year. He might be dedicating himself to, I guess, his restaurant tour career.
Tillman got him.
Yeah, he seems to have other stuff on his mind at the moment, other than playing for the Houston Rockets. So I'm a little bit stressed about him because if that doesn't work out, I'm pretty fucked. So
Yeah. So for me, we drafted with ESPN and Sleeper, both very polarizing, different ways of doing things. I preferred the Sleeper draft. Honestly, I think that was a lot more functional, and it looks a lot nicer in my
functional,
opinion.
maybe not.
Functional, no, but pretty. I'll give you that.
It looks better. Let's just say that. It looks a lot better. But I drafted the one that I'm really, really nervous on that could easily blow up in my face, and I'm actually going to say that for both, was John Wall. So I drafted John Wall in a very good spot, mind you. I didn't get him too early, and he fell far enough where I was just like, okay, I'm willing to take a bullet for this if it ends up, blowing up in my face. So fingers crossed that John Wall is going to do well this year. He better. I really hope so. Kevin, what was your worst decision?
I'm on the same John Wall train as you, but also I'm skeptical on if Steph's going to put up the same numbers he has previously. I would be surprised if he does. I'm just hoping he stays healthy and at least puts up some consistent numbers, but I'm a little nervous.
That's fair.
Kevin, let's be honest with yourself. Your worst pick was Draymond Green. That was your worst pick. It was terrible, and you did it pretty early.
It was bad. It wasn't great, man. It really wasn't. Sam, what was your bad decision?
First off, I think we did a lot of disrespect for CJ McCollum. Everyone knows on this podcast, I love CJ. CJ Ride or Die, great podcaster as well. I think I did pretty well in my opinion. I basically did team big. That's usually my motto for most things. Just take all the centers and then dump them when people are desperate for it. I think the only thing I regret from the Sleeper one was the Vucevic because of the functionality of Sleeper. My Vucevic pick. A little upset there. Skeptical on not having a true guard I'm really reliable with in case of a Jamal Murray or an SGA is gone. But I think the real question is this John Collins thing. I know we talked about it before, John, about, with this Atlanta movement, is Trae Young going to even have the ball in his hands at this point? The way they build this team, everyone's going to be shooting, but I've never seen Trae Young pass in his life before. So, when a guy drops 40 points a night, I really don't know what this team is really about. I'm glad Matt drafted Bogdanovic, so I didn't make the mistake.
Yes.
So thank you for that.
Yeah. We'll see.
But I think just not having enough good guard. I got Tyler Hero. I know everyone was upset about that, but I have the stank face when you got it. So
I'm rolling in guards.
John, who are you going to try and snake? Who's the first person that you're going to try and snake a trade from, seeing as that's your go-to thing to do?
Look, I don't snake. I make fair trades across the board. I stockpile talent. It's just the way I operate. I don't make anyone. I don't make anyone press accept. I am Danny Ainge from 4 years ago. I am a wizard in the trade room. I'm gonna go after probably like Karl Anthony Towns or something. And I'm gonna end up with another. I'm gonna have someone soon. Don't worry.
All right, so why don't we get into the show, boys? John, I know you have something that you want to go over with us, a little trivia.
Yeah, so we're going to do a little bit of inspired by my immense amount of stress about James Harden. I came up with a little NBA 2 truths and a lie, James Harden edition. So I'm going to tell you guys 3 facts. You tell me which one of them is not true. I'm going to just go through them all first and then let me know at the end. So
It's going to be good.
First, James Harden is the oldest player to win a scoring title since Michael Jordan in 97-98. Second, James Harden is 5th all-time in three-pointers made, but 3rd all-time in three-pointers attempted. And the last one is James Harden has the most scoring titles among active players. Where's the lie?
Oh my god!
Is this like consensus? Like we need to agree on something?
If one of you wants to be right, speak your truth.
I think that the last one is a lie, but I don't
thinking
that James Harden has the most scoring titles among active players.
Yeah,
That's tough because we got to talk about Kevin Durant. We can't forget Kevin Durant was a scoring title beast.
Yeah.
Thing is, Carmelo also had one. I think maybe 2. This is tough.
The thing, like, I definitely
the first one.
The 3rd all time in like attempts is definitely true, and the 5th for the 3-point shot. I definitely think that one's true.
Yeah.
The last one is the one that's really getting me, and that's where my gut is going. I think the last one's a lie.
Matt's taking the last one. Kevin?
I'm going same last one.
Sam?
First one.
You're on the first. You're going the oldest player.
Yeah.
Okay. It was the last one. It was James Harden. So Kevin Durant has 4 scoring titles to James Harden's 3.
Wow.
James Harden is the oldest player to win a scoring title. I think he was 31 this last season, 30 or 31. So he was the oldest person since Michael did it, 97, 98. Which also just like kind of a fun fact about, I guess, like going into Reggie Miller as far as like that all-time 3-point list. This season, it's very likely that Reggie is going to go from 2nd all-time in threes made all the way down to 5th because to pass him, Steph only needs 66. Kyle Korver needs 111. And James Harden, this is the one that's like a little dicier, but he needs 237, which he could do if he plays.
That's true. Kyle Korver. Oh, shout out to Kyle Korver, man.
Yeah, he's 4th all time in threes made.
It's impressive.
That's extremely impressive.
So I learned all this information to make myself feel better about James Harden going into the year.
That's totally fair. Yeah. I'm actually like a little bit happy that I don't have James Harden just because of that reason specifically. Why don't we go into the next part? This is something that we've all been wanting to do a little bit more, so I'm glad that this is in the doc. Why don't we talk about shoe brands and whatnot? So Under Armour and Steph Curry are now launching the Curry brand, which I am super pumped about. That shit is fire. Essentially, their global shoe sales went from $300 million to $1 billion in 2019 for Under Armour, and that was since signing with Under Armour in 2013. How do we feel, Sam? I saw your face there as soon as I mentioned the Curry brand. How do you feel about this?
Actually, nothing to do with Curry. Look, I will say over and over again, I was the only person that believed in Curry day one. He had 2 years out with an ankle injury, and everyone's like, there's no way this kid can play. I'm like, this guy's going to change the game. 11th grade Sam knew what was up, okay? That's all I said. But I'm super excited for Curry itself. Under Armour as a brand, I'm going to be honest, all right? It's a white person brand. It's white people that do it, okay? You're not going to catch me wearing Under Armour. I'm going to tell you that for sure. But Curry signing with Under Armour was perfect, just in terms of being like the only basketball player, right? He started the trend for the Joel Embiid. Who's someone Under Armour? Let's be real at this point. But he started a trend of like not following the Nike line, right? Don't just sign with Nike because they got the superstar marketing. Obviously, there's benefits there, but for example, no one here is going to wear a Paul George shoe, right? Because Paul George is Paul George at this point. I'd rather we be a Greek freak at this point. But this is awesome for Curry. I'm surprised it took this long, to be honest, because we're reaching near, I think a near, less peak for Curry at this point, right? In terms of his game, he's getting injured, so it's a real shame that we're seeing this. It's going to be a definite transition phase, especially without Klay Thompson. We don't really know what this Warriors team is about again. It's just another experiment. Hopefully, health is. Doesn't hurt them too much here, but this is awesome for Curry. Like I said, fuck the brand itself, but Curry brand, I'll support it. I will rep Under Armour just for Curry. That's how confident about this.
Dang.
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, I definitely agree. I am kind of surprised that Steph Curry, that this kind of happened so late in his game. I wonder if the intention is to kind of get something started after he's done playing. So he might be thinking about the future. Just because he's getting to that point in his career where it's just like now the questions are starting to be asked like in no way, shape, or form is he retiring anytime soon. I really don't think that, but it is a little bit later in the year, in his career, and he's probably thinking about his future, which is most likely why this is happening now. Yeah. John, on a scale of 1 to 10. How funny is it that Luka ended up signing with Jordan and not Nike?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Jordan is a sub-brand of Nike. It's funny. It's a good. I think it's just it makes good sense, and Jordan makes incredible shoes, and that's on the dock just because I saw it was in an interview that LeBron did on Richard Jefferson's show, where he was talking about how. He was trying to get Nike to sign Luka to be the first person under his own future shoe brand, because there will be a LeBron shoe brand at some point. There just will but it's just not there yet. But he was hoping to get Luka to be the first person under that brand, because he's Luka's the future. Just a mild bit of tampering, I guess, and
it's all good. It's LA. That's how we do it.
It's some mild tampering in that interview, but he. Ultimately Luka signed with Jordan, which is good for him. Maybe someday Luka will be the first Euro guy to get that big to have a brand himself. But it is interesting. I heard some people saying I heard some doubters about the Curry brand saying that I don't know if he's going to be able to still sell shoes when he's retired. People aren't quite sure if he's that much of a worldwide name someone like LeBron. But I think that just seeing those numbers that we saw from 2013 to 2019 since he signed, I think it's clear Steph makes them a lot of money. It was a great choice for at least Steph to give that a shot and go ahead and do it. And I'm sure he'll be able to sign some guys. I would be surprised if someday you'll maybe get Trae Young or something, all the other guys who grew up being Steph Curry, signing Steph's brand.
That'd be really interesting. That is a good point. We all know LeBron kind of has that look that's kind of on par with Michael Jordan in the sense of popularity. So it's just whenever people think about the brand itself, sure, people are going to think of LeBron and Jordan almost before anybody else. But I don't think I don't have any doubts about the Curry brand itself, just because I think maybe some people are our attention spans are just so small that it feels like Golden State winning all these championships happened 5+ years ago or something like that, when it happened 2 years ago, right? They were in the championship 2 years ago. So I have no worry with that. Steph Curry is a huge name. And as we have seen in multiple podcasts and storylines, he's one of the first people to really revolutionize that 3-point shot and to just make it kind of so monumental and important in a game.
Yeah, I think I'd like to add that 2 things real quick. First off, Curry shoes are very uncomfortable. I'm just being honest. They're not. Under Armour did a bad job to him. I'm just saying Under Armour did a disservice to Steph Curry for his ankles, because those are not meant for his ankles. I don't know how he does it. I mean, I'm pretty sure the guy wears 3 ankle braces at this point. But on a lighter note, I think Steph Curry's marketing should be towards golf, because that's his next passion. I don't know if you guys watched that Bleacher Report thing with Barkley, Mickelson, Woods. I mean, I think that's the perfect fit for him. Let's go golfing, boys. Let's get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. Why don't we get into to one of my favorite things to discuss and to also freak out about, the Boston Celtics.
I'm out.
Something that I'll pull my hair on a daily basis with. The trade exemption, 28.5 million, biggest ever. It's insane. In your opinions, let's start with Kevin. We haven't heard from him in a little bit. What do you think they're going to do with it? Are they gonna? Do you think Kemba's gonna be a part of this, or do you think they're gonna try and do whatever they can to keep him?
I don't know. I think we were talking about it a little bit before recording, but I think their biggest thing is they get a point guard who's not just an exclusive offensive shooting minded point guard, which I think Kemba is. And Kemba's great, don't get me wrong. But I think they want to go with someone a little younger, someone who can still be that like playmaking point guard, who can be the floor general kind of person. And I think, again, I would love to see this. I don't know if this will actually happen, but I would love to see them go after Dinwiddie. Dinwiddie's on Brooklyn, and he's going to, I don't know, play a lot less minutes than he was last year now. And he's the perfect guy to get. They could get him for pretty cheap and pull him, and I think he'd be a great fit for that team.
Here's my thing with that. I think the only way that happens is if Kemba is in that deal. Because Brooklyn is probably thinking right now that they are in a win now position. We have Kevin Durant, we have Kyrie Irving. We're not just going to be trading for draft picks. We want talent on our team. And if you're talking about like iso ball and stuff like that and shooters, Kemba is pretty much that. He is an insane shooter, very talented in that position. But I don't think the Celtics would do that trade personally. I do like Brogdon. I saw that name, and I am a big fan if the Celtics can get a hold of Brogdon. I think that would exponentially increase the talent and the depth that they would have. And not to mention that if the Celtics somehow got Dinwiddie without trading Kemba, I highly doubt that would ever happen. But if that did happen, I don't see Dinwiddie as a starter. He would definitely be coming off the bench, and I think, which would be fine for the Celtics, but I don't think that's what Dinwiddie would want personally. I think he would much rather be in a starting position. John, it seems that you're disagreeing with me pretty hard on this.
Look, I don't know. First, I don't think that the Nets want Kemba Walker. They already have Kyrie Irving, and Kemba's just like worse Kyrie. Both of them have similar knee issues. They're always hurt. But Kyrie's just like a wizard, where Kemba's just like good. And I think like Dinwiddie could potentially like be a bit more of a maybe like a kind of like floor general type ish, but he still does lean sort of harder as a scorer, but he's not as good of a shooter either. So I wonder what that does to their spacing with like Tristan Thompson there. But I do like him as a target if they're trying to get some more depth there, because right now, as we talked about before, they're going to have Jeff Teague manning the point for like until Kemba's stem cell knees become knees again. So like it's a little dicey in Boston right now. And if what I think is that they probably heard what Anthony Davis's, I think, dad said in that free agency period, where he was like, look, like I don't want Anthony's not going to Boston. We saw what they did to Isaiah Thomas, where they just like played him as so injured to the point where like it basically like derailed his career entirely. He's not even in the league right now. And then they just got rid of him. So I don't know if they would. I think that if they did include Kemba in a trade, I think it would do like irreparable damage to their reputation, at least as long as Danny Ainge is there. But I don't know. It's tough. Like I think that they probably maybe would want some depth at a big spot. Maybe they need like something that, because it's Tristan Thompson will probably be their starting center in the playoffs, just because he's got like more experience there than Daniel Tice, who just got kind of pushed around by bigger guys. But look, I put this name on there, and it's not it's a point guard, but it is a big point guard. And he is beloved Chicago Bull, former Wizard. Yes. I believe his name is Tomas Satoransky. And I think that if they do want some depth at point guard and a legitimate floor general, like that's someone who they could target. Definitely not going to fill up that trade exception though. They could probably get him for like Daniel Tice. And Chicago loves piling on their bigs. I don't know. It's weird because as we were talking about before, all the point guards that they would go after, it feels like they just moved to a new team. Mm-hmm. So I don't know exactly what they're going to do with this exception, or, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's just a giant question mark. I think it was easy to, at all of the other free agency decisions, to see, okay, yeah, this is definitely going to happen.
Al Horford.
I'm kind of down for it. I'm not going to lie. I think it was like the perfect system for him at this point.
No.
Okay, look, Boston did Al Horford wrong. We have to agree to that. They did.
Yes, they did.
They did that.
Sam, are you getting any good vibes from this trade exception? How do you feel about this? What do you look forward to?
Look. We know, as I always say, Danny Ainge is a mobster. Okay, he doesn't get these deals done through legal matters, I would say. All right. Boston completely messed up. What they should have done, they should have made the moves right before the draft. They should have just done it. I would have taken the risk at that point, but as soon as you start drafting someone, they don't want what you have because you have a late lottery at this point. You have late in what we call like in probably end of the lottery, you know, in the middle of the first round at that point. So kind of what John said, I think all the pieces are either very loyal. The organization is very loyal. Like for me, I think they need a veteran piece at point guard. I know we talked about before, it's Kyle Lowry, right? I think that's someone that's a true floor general. He can carry if he needs to, but he's definitely at an age where he doesn't need to. He's got the Jaylen Brown, the Jason Tatum to do the scoring part. He just needs to facilitate. Because we all know Kemba Walker's, let's be honest, he's a pure scorer. That's what he did. He's done his whole career since college at that point. And there's really no pieces that can help them because I don't want Spencer Dinwiddie there. I think it's going to hurt his career even more just because that team is it's just too young, and like to think that he's like a vet, that's just like really weird for me because he really doesn't have much experience in terms of like what it means to win. I'm sorry, it's just like the teams he's been on is just they don't win until maybe the last 2 years at this point. But they need someone they need a Chris Paul, to be honest. They need someone that's a pure floor general that doesn't matter, but that just wants to win at this point because we see their average assists per player is 5 assists a game. That's nuts. Like no one should be averaging 5 assists. They need a true guy at point guard that's able to facilitate, move the ball, cut and slash, and get these Jason Tatum, the Jaylen Browns more active instead of doing this ISO ball shit. Because we saw with James Harden, you can do that and you'll get the inflated stats, but you're not getting W's at the end of the day, right? You're gonna get knocked out the second round per usual over and over again. So for me, it's not only that Brooklyn's gonna win now, it's Boston's gonna win now because you paid these guys now. Right? You paid these guys, and the next contract, it doesn't seem like that if they don't get past the conference finals again, it doesn't look good for them.
So, Sam, what you're saying is that a good NBA team would much rather have Chris Paul than, let's just say, Ricky Rubio.
Yeah, I guess I would go along those lines. Ricky Rubio, we love you. Minnesota did you wrong. Probably going to do you wrong twice. Let's be real. You know, when you get 3-4 point guards, it doesn't happen. It doesn't work for you, right? When you have a chance to draft Steph Curry and you mess that up, hey, that's on you at that point. So yeah. I would take Chris Paul. I'll take Chris Paul.
Yeah. I mean, feel like that's just the obvious pick right there. That Chris Paul is just exponentially better option than Ricky Rubio. Let's move on.
So taking my words out of context.
Oh sure, yeah, that's what happened. I'm gonna blow your guys' mind really quick. One of the craziest trades that literally came out of nowhere. Russell Westbrook for John Wall and a 2023 protected first round pick. What the fuck? John, help me out with this, man. Yeah, that's how I'm feeling right now.
It's look, it makes the Wizards better. Russell Westbrook at every point in his career has been a better player than John Wall at any point in his career. As much as like I am kind of a hater on Russ, like that's just facts. and he's also not coming off of like missing 2 straight years of basketball. Like they want to keep Brad Beal. This was a good move for them. That pick is probably also not going to like convey to the Rockets anyway. It's really heavily protected. If I'm the Rockets, I don't know. Apparently James Harden wanted to play with John Wall. That's the word on the street. I don't know why. I think he's just looking for like a better nightlife partner. Like it doesn't make any sense from a basketball standpoint. I mean, like it makes sense in the sense that like John Wall has never been someone who has like a usage rate that like Russ has, where Russ will have like 35 to 40% usage rate like every year. John Wall loves to pass the ball and he can shoot a little better than Russ, assuming that he's able to play well and still like be a starting quality player. After missing 2 years because of some of the most devastating injuries a basketball player like him, who relies on his athleticism, can suffer. So I think it's so weird if you're the Rockets, because they have the same amount of years left on their contracts. So it's not like you're getting off that money anytime soon. No one's going to want John Wall from you. He's in Houston now. He's there. That's it. That you were the only people dumb enough to take John Wall. Like it was idiot. And I feel bad because I know that like John Wall did love like the community in Washington, and they loved him and all that stuff. And he apparently was excited about like playing with Bradley Beal apparently. And so it is kind of a bummer in that sense, but man, it is so weird. It's so weird, but
came out of nowhere.
Yeah. But we got Boogie and John Wall together again. So
yeah, Sam, would you say that that's a good thing or a bad thing?
Hey man, just teach me how to Dougie at this point, right? But is it ironic that a crippled man is repping Crips at this point? Am I the only one? John Wall was throwing gang signs, all right, earlier in September, and it's just not a good image to have as an NBA player having affiliations to gang ties at this. And that James Harden, who said last year, not even last year, about 6 months ago, saying that the person I want to play with is Russell Westbrook. And then you played 6 months, and then not even 6 months, like 5 months. And you're like, yeah, I don't like that. I like hogging the ball more. So it's kind of my vibe at this point. So it doesn't look good. It looks like these hoes ain't loyal. That's what we're getting here at this point. So Houston, I'm glad you suck. Dallas, I hope you suck. Spurs, we're back. All right, we're good. We're set for life.
I love how we got from point A to point like 2.5 right there. You just literally went from like, oh, look at this really weird trade to go Spurs.
You gotta do it, man. We talk about Houston, anything Texas, it's gonna be Spurs. That's it. That's all we talk about. Nothing else.
Sure. Absolutely. Kevin,
I think the point we're brushing over though quickly is like I think I actually like the Washington team now. Like I like the.
I thought you were gonna say the other way. I was like,
I was very concerned there.
But that trade, I mean, obviously it does help Washington. Like John said, like Russ is just objectively a better player than John Wall. But Russ and Beal specifically, I think, is going to be a really cool combo to see. Just because, like, yeah, Russ needs the ball in his hands at all times, basically. But he is still a triple-double machine. So where are those 10 assists going to go to? Is Beal on the edge making three-pointers all day. So that's 30 points a game from Beal from the 10 assists from Russ. Like, I think that just makes them I mean, they're not going to play defense ever. But
never. Absolutely not. Are you kidding?
You know, it'd be funny if Russell Westbrook gets the All-Star and not Bradley Beal again.
Oh, that will be very good. I think they'll win enough games that Brad will get his All-Star. I do agree, Kevin, and I think that like Bradley Beal is a really talented off-ball player, which is good because if it was like James Harden hasn't played off the ball in 8 years, like so it was a weird fit to begin with. Like he can do that, but he doesn't. And so I do kind of like the Russ and Brad Beal fit. Beal's numbers will probably suffer a bit, but not a lot. Like he's still really good, and I think that there's a chance they're going to be a playoff team.
Yeah, I definitely think so.
Yeah.
All right, so I've got a really quick segment. It's going to be super quick. I just kind of came up with it on the fly. It's going to be a this or that. So we're going to look at both starting rosters where you got the Houston Rockets and we've got the Washington Wizards. So let's start with the Rockets. You've got John Wall, James Harden, Eric Gordon, Christian Wood, John's favorite player in the world, and then PJ Tucker. And then we have with the Washington Wizards, we have Russell Westbrook, Bradley Beal, Davis Bertans, Rui Hachimura, Kevin's favorite player in the entire world, and then Thomas Bryant. So, John, this or that? Are we going with the Washington Wizards or the Houston Rockets?
I'm going to be honest. I think that, like, if James Harden is playing, I still think the Rockets will be the better team. Because they still got James Harden. PJ Tucker's still going to be able to be a good defensive player. Christian Wood will be finally an actual big who can space the floor, play defense, switch. So I think the Rockets can still be quite good. They won't be – I think they'll be better than the Wizards is what I say. Okay, so John Wall, I don't know how much John Wall does actually this year.
All right. Sam, who do you got? You got Washington Wizards or the Rockets?
I think I have to go with the Rockets just on the basis we can't doubt Harden, the guy's a scoring machine, as we did right at the beginning. As much as I like the Wizards are definitely improved because you got a dead asset and you actually got someone that's had an MVP that's able to score on his own, who can take really bad three-pointers basically at this point. You can't make a shot. He won't change. But I really like Bradley Beal. I really wish he was on a much better team, aka Warriors at this point. I think that could be a solid fit. Perfect off-ball team. I know, let's be real. The thing is that the Wizards don't have anything else. Like, they just don't have anything. There's no other asset that's like ready to be like a real playmaker, in my opinion. I think Rui was a solid pick. I just don't know if it's part of the rotation at this point. Davis Bertans, I think he was overpaid in my opinion. I mean, when you get a 5-year extension at this point, it's nuts. And I just think that Thomas Bryant also okay. And my boy Denny, we can't forget my boy Denny Avdia. All right, I want Denny Avdia here. And he's supposed to be an NBA-ready player. He needs to be slightly more of a focal point, in my opinion, if you consider him a ready-to-go player. So just with that, I just think Houston, they have the similar core at this point. People who just want to play and win. So.
Absolutely. And Kevin, who you got? You got Wizards or Rockets?
I think I got to go Wizards just to be the devil's advocate here. And I do think it's going to be close between the two teams because I think the Rockets are going to take a dip a little bit and Wizards are going to get a big bump from these moves. And I think it'll come down to not if Russ and Beal can work together, because I think that's going to, like, that seems like on paper – it should be obvious that they will work together. Like John said, like one on ball, one off ball guy that both are very talented. Like that just makes sense to work versus like what Harden and Russ was. But I think it's going to come down to if the rest of that team can work together and actually improve. I think Rui, as much as I hype him up, he's still pretty new and you can see him learning a lot, which he's not there yet in a top tier big at all. But he's getting there. So if he can keep improving his game, I think he would be a huge value add to that team. And same with like Bertans. I think Bertans is awesome, but he's not an all-star player or anything like that. So I think they really need one of those guys to really step up a lot and be the other key part of that roster. And if they get one of those guys to actually be really good, or not even really good, but just good enough, I think that puts them over the edge on the Rockets.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Kevin on that one. I'm definitely going to take I shouldn't say definitely, but I'm going to take the Wizards over it, mainly because, one, I am a Rockets hater, and two, because I'm very interested to see how Russ and Beal play together. Like Kevin said, on paper, it should work. However, as we know, the NBA is a fickle person, mistress, divine being, who we all pray to on a daily basis. And they like to fuck with us in a very great way.
I mean, I also just feel like it's not hard to win the East. I mean, let's be real. There's 3 teams.
No.
Three teams. That's 3 teams.
And now there's that, like, we'll talk about this in courtroom, but there's a play-in game. So, like, you can be a 10 seed and you might sneak into the playoffs. Like,
your Orlando Magic will not make the playoffs this year. That's my hot take. All right. That's
a hell of a hot take, man. I don't know. Kevin, how do you feel about that one? I know Sam's dissing your buddy Aaron Gordon there.
I hate the Magic so much. Oh, my team.
We're gonna stay on the subject of the Rockets, though. The new head coach, John. I know this is giving you quite a bit of anxiety right now, but they're saying that they're giving Harden some space, some space right now. What does that mean exactly? Can you help me out here?
We've talked about the Rockets a lot. I'll be brief. Steven Silas is in a very difficult position because he can't just drive James Harden away. That's the franchise. He has to do what he can to like make him want to come. James Harden was out at Lil Baby's birthday party the other day. Yeah, which is ridiculous. And James Harden also, I believe, is supposed to have his first individual workout with the Rockets tonight. We'll see what happens there. But I think, like, look, do what you can, Steven Silas, to make James Harden happy. Unfortunately, that's the position you're in if you want to have a good first season as a head coach. Unfortunately, you're going to have to tie yourself to James Harden until the Rockets are willing to trade him. But I don't even know what that trade would be because you need to get so much in return for James Harden. It's very stressful. I'm very stressed about it. I'm not even a Rockets fan. I don't fucking care about this franchise except that they are completely tied to my success in fantasy basketball this year, which is so important, of grave importance.
Yes.
James Harden played basketball for Houston this year.
We're going to move on from the Rockets. And Kevin, we're going to go on to your favorite team. We're going to go on to the Lakers. Anthony Davis signed 5 years, $190 million, and LeBron signed for an $85 million 2-year contract. Now, coincidentally, this contract ends for LeBron when Bronny could possibly enter the draft. Why don't you just give us your overall feeling about all of these contracts work into play?
I mean, first off, you got to sign that 80 max.
Yeah.
That's just a must.
Yeah.
And thank God they did. Same with LeBron. Like, you got to sign him when you can for as long as you can. And I'm sure he was probably the one that was like, 2 years. Because I don't know I think it's going to be one of two things. I think he's either going to want to play with Bronny right away and try and be on the same team as him and just go wherever he goes, or he's going to go on a different team just so he can shut down his son.
He's going to dunk on his son.
He's going to do that Iggy block on him. That's what he's going to do.
No, let's be honest. I think we all know that LeBron dunks on his son on a daily basis. He wants his son to feel the pain of getting dunked on. He wants him to know that very early on. Let's be honest here. Sam, does this make you feel good or bad about LeBron James and Bronny playing together in the NBA?
Like, I don't know if you guys have been watching the highlight. This kid grew like 4 inches in like a span of 4 months. Like, he's LeBron's height. That's what he's like. Almost 6'8" right now.
Jesus.
Yeah, no, he got tall. The kid got tall. The kid just has like natural talent. Obviously, you got the good genes with when you're LeBron your dad. I hope you can ball out. Marcus Jordan, I feel sorry for you, but hey, it sucks. But the thing is, first of all, I want to give props to Rob Pelinka. Rob Pelinka, this is why I like people that didn't play professional sports being general managers, is that they don't have any bias. Elton Brand is a shit general manager. Should not be there. Daryl Morey was there and did all the right moves possible. Don't sign Tobias Harris to a max contract, please. All right? That's all I'd ask for you. But I don't know. We're just assuming that, Bronny is going to be the number 1 overall pick. I'm just based off assumption, just based off the hype right now. The Lakers are going to do really bad, or they're going to have to dump a lot of assets. I'm not sure how they're going to do it. But look, when there's all this, talking behind the scenes, we won't call it tampering. That's a foul word, John, at this point. So we can't talk about that. But you never know. I think if you get Bronny and LeBron, that'd be awesome. That'd be like Ken Griffey and Ken Griffey Jr. all over again. So I'm hyped about this.
That's fair. John, this 5-year, $190 million deal for Anthony Davis, that's a must, yeah. You just have to that.
If you could give him more money. Anthony Davis is going to be one of the best 3 players in the league for the next, who knows, 6 or 7 years maybe. He's the franchise now, and that's a good place to be. He's shown that he's a winning player when you put the right guys around him now. He's a beast. He deserves every cent. and good for him. Good for the Lakers, as much as that pains me to say.
Yeah, it really hurts to see this, honestly. We're going to go next door from the Lakers to the Clippers really quick. And then we're going to talk about Mr. Mr. Budenholzer. But before we get to him, Paul George, he wants to retire as a Clipper. I don't really believe him. He's said this before with Oklahoma City, and I think we've noticed that when things don't work out for Mr. George, he tends to just dip the fuck out. There really doesn't seem to be much that ties him down to a place. I know Sam loves to use the word snake with Mr. Kawhi Leonard, but I think the biggest snake of them all is definitely Paul George. Without even saying a goddamn word, he's just like, "Hey, OKC, peace out. We're peacing out the." John, do you actually believe that he will retire as a Clipper? I can't see that happening.
I have the same reaction to this that his teammates had by his impassioned speech after they lost a 3-1 lead to the Nuggets, which is fucking crickets. I don't fucking care. It doesn't matter if Paul George wants to retire a Clipper. I don't think any Clippers fan gives a shit if Paul George retires as a Clipper. The only thing that matters is that Kawhi Leonard retires as a Clipper.
Yeah,
that's the one that I would want to hear. Paul George is not moving the needle. I don't really believe him, but even if it's true, I don't give a shit because Paul George has to really bounce back big this year for this to matter.
Absolutely. Kevin, as the resident Paul George hater, why don't you just shit on Paul George a little bit? I'm going to give you some time to just unleash your hate.
I just saw the thing that came out today, which was Doc Rivers' response to Paul George's most recent shit of Doc Rivers didn't make any adjustments. That's how we lose through one lead. And Doc Rivers is just basically I think we all need to take some responsibility. Everyone on that team, everyone has to take some responsibility. And some people just didn't play well. I just love it because Paul George absolutely shit the bed in the playoffs, just like I fucking said he was gonna. And he hasn't taken any responsibility for having
Shocker
4 games in the playoffs. And he's just throwing this around, making that impassioned speech that no one gives a fuck about, saying now, I want to retire as a Clipper. No one cares. And he's throwing Doc Rivers under the bus. What, bro? This ain't on him.
It's a little on him.
Okay, it is a little on him. But it's not. That doesn't make it not on Paul George as well.
Yeah.
He's got to be a mature adult and actually take some responsibility. But I don't think we're going to see it anytime soon. I think this year is going to be the exact same thing for the Clippers. They're going to look good in a couple games and then go to the playoffs and absolutely shit the bed.
Yeah. Sam, kind of moving away. Let's just keep the whole, just the Clippers organization in general. Are you worried about the Clippers actually making a good move this year as far as solid move seeding in the playoffs? Or do you see them kind of taking a really big downturn this year?
This is a huge downturn, right? This is it. You have to play well. Otherwise, everyone is out. Everyone can walk away easily. Not that Paul George matters at this point. I want to hold on. I'm gonna make a point on Paul George. Right? Paul George fucked it up. Let's be honest. As a coach, you can only do so much. You can give the game plan, but it's up to the players to run it. And at that point, if you consider yourself a goddamn leader on this court, it's on you, Paul George. When you tell the Indiana Pacers, who you led to the conference finals back to back, and then you tell the crowd that I take the last shot, you're 1 for 25 in the last 2 minutes. You make a goddamn shot. Who the fuck are you at this point? You can't do this shit. You can't. He talks the talk, but you can't walk it. Let's be real at this point. Paul George is not a top 10 player. I don't even think he's a top 20 player at this point. I just think the way he presents himself just doesn't even do that. It's genuinely embarrassing. Like I would. This is the only jersey I would burn because this is the most snitch person I've seen in the NBA right now. You don't narc on a team that a guy that was fired because of your mistake at this point. All right, Paul George, we do not want to. I know you'll never come on this podcast, but you were never welcome at this point. Okay, let's be real. But the Clippers are in a win now situation at this point because they give up every asset to get Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi's going to stay, but I don't want Paul George back on the Clippers.
Is he gonna stay? Well,
we'll see.
Am I gonna stay? Though?
It's California. I ain't going back to Indiana. Yeah. I ain't going back to Indiana.
No,
that's fair. Yeah,
that's totally fine. I would live in California over Indiana any day of the fucking week. But as we look at Kawhi Leonard, I don't think he would want to stay on a losing team. And if the Clippers really do bad this year, do you really think he's gonna stay?
I mean, like, let's be real. He doesn't even stay in LA. He stays in San Diego at this point.
Yeah.
So that's a statement right there.
I think Kawhi just wants to be as close to home as he can be. Yeah.
That's good on him. Good on him. I'll absolutely give that to him.
I think that, wow, we really, a lot of Clipper hate. I feel it. I understand. I don't think they're going to be as bad as the hate that we throw at them. I think they're going to be, they might even be a little bit better this year, is actually what I think, because I think they're going to hopefully actually play together. All that shit about Kawhi leaked out being like a fucking loner freak who like didn't want to see anyone, would cancel practices on whim. I think like this year, now that shit's out there, they don't want that shit coming out again. I think they're going to try harder to be an actual team. It just depends on if that works out.
Yeah, the Clippers had huge locker room problems last year, which nobody even really knew about until, everything started shitting the fan.
Even Jim Boylan didn't get ripped as hard as Paul George went into Doc Rivers. Like, Doc Rivers is a Hall of Famer. And even Zach LaVine tried to be polite about Jim Boylan calling a timeout in the middle of a blowout. Like,
what a God, okay. We can't. We cannot talk about that right now. I can't deal with it.
Anyone that thinks that Serge Ibaka is the second best player on this team now? Like, I feel that
No!
Like, I'm very close to playing Luke Kennard, but I only like Luke Kennard personally. So, Paul George will keep you there. This guy was an MVP candidate 2 years ago, and he fucked it up right here. You can't mess up these kind of opportunities. What really pisses me off is the whole ESPN trilogy he had, where he does a whole 3 episode about I'm going to stay. And then the year after, he's like, I want out, guys. Like, sorry, but I want to go to I want to team with the best player in the NBA and just peace out. So I just don't respect him from a teammate standpoint, because you're clear that you're not for the team at this point. Like, you got your bag. I can respect that. As an individual, that's cool. And we know he has bad ties with Doc Rivers from a different situation, which I won't bring up. We know what's up there. Serge Ibaka, we love you. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on. We're done with the Clippers hate for a minute. Let's move on to the Bucks. Kevin, you and Sam, your once beloved team. Let's go to Sam. Sam, how do you feel about Budenholzer saying that this season is not necessary? That this season is championship or bust? How are you feeling about that? Do you think that's a good thing to say for Giannis signing the Supermax? Do you really think that kind of actually means anything? Because I feel like it's an obvious, like, no shit, it's a championship or bust. But
no, he said that he doesn't think it's championship or bust.
Oh, fuck me! No.
Yeah, no. If I was a coach and I said that, I was fired. So I would be like Brett Brown at this point.
Oh my God, that changes everything! Holy shit! All right, so. Obviously, I can't read. But Sam, how are you feeling about that?
Yeah, we know you can't read because you think you're picking winners for your team, but you keep reading Chicago Bulls. So just saying.
I understand that the Chicago Bulls suck ass. Let's not put me in league with that.
It's the only time I would burn a jersey for an entire organization. All right, let's be real. Okay, but it's a tough question to ask, even a coach. Like, it's definitely like a blogger would definitely ask that to get something very controversial, because you can't really answer that question. Like, is this a make or break season? It's like, I feel like every season's make or break at this point, because you're a superstar. It's a player owned league at this point. We can see Carlton Town just signed his extension about last year, and now you could probably ask for a trade this year. It's probably going to happen. Let's be real at this point. It's just like players are very empowered, which I can respect from, I respect that completely, but there's no sense of balance in the league because now everyone's a best friend, right? Everyone's your best friend. They want to team up with one another. Like, you know how bad it would be if Giannis left Milwaukee just to go to a really, really good team, not just like another like okay team that could get better. Like to me, like Toronto's not that good anymore, right? Like they're losing the pieces a little bit. Pascal Siakam, I can respect that a lot, but like Giannis going to Toronto, that would be kind of cool. Like it's kind of like no one really expected that, just in terms of like connections at that point. But like you don't want to see Giannis go to LA Lakers. You don't want to see him going. You don't want to see him going to the West in general because we need more talent going into the East. I don't even want to see him in Miami personally because I want him to see him beat the Miami. I don't want him to be Kevin Durant going to the Warriors again. You lost to these guys. You can't join those bullies at this point. Look, the Bucks are in a tough situation. I've known from experience with Kawhi and his Uncle Phil situation at this point. He's Uncle Phil until I know his actual name. But Budenholzer's got dealt a bad hand, but he's also a coach that always gets you to the 1 seed, but actually can't show up in the playoffs. So, like, you probably do have to change coaches at this point. I know Jason Kidd might be a return. Who knows? I like that. Giannis loved Jason Kidd. Who knows at this point?
Fair enough. Kevin, are you thinking that this is because this clearly, in my opinion, I don't think this is a very good thing to say in general, just to like keep your best player on your team. How are your feelings about Giannis maybe not signing the Supermax because of this? I don't think he would do it to spite Budenholzer just because of what he says about it. But like this isn't the best thing to say, right? Like this can't be a good thing to say when you're like this stressed out about keeping your best player.
I don't think it's necessarily a good thing to say, but I don't know if it's like that bad of a thing to say either. Like I think it's kind of taken out of context a little bit when you look at it just like in terms of just that question, like, oh, Budenholzer doesn't believe this season is championship or bust. Yeah, I mean, he's still going to try and win the championship. It's not like they're not going to care about like winning or something this season. I think he's saying that if they don't win a championship, they still have a really good, solid team, and he thinks Giannis is going to stay, and they still have plenty of opportunities to grow as a team further on. And I think I agree with that. I think he could have probably phrased his response better, but I don't think Giannis is going to take any of that to heart and actually be offended or be like, oh, they don't want to win with me now, so I'm going to go somewhere else. Like, no, Giannis isn't a drama queen. Giannis isn't Kyrie. Like, Giannis isn't going to care about any of this shit.
That's fair. John, are you thinking that the Bucks are even like the best team in the East in general, or do you think that mantle has kind of been passed on to the Nets?
I don't know. I believe I'm on record as saying that the Nets will be in the finals from the East, but I don't know because it is a big question mark, right? Like you have Kyrie, you have to count on him being healthy, which he hasn't been for the past few years. Sure. Count on Kevin Durant coming back to it being at least 90% of himself off an Achilles injury. If that's the case, if both those things happen, then yeah, I would say they're probably going to be the best team in the East. But the Bucks still have Giannis, the back-to-back MVP. Chris Middleton is a good player. He's not great, but he's good, and he's like an all-star, and like an Eastern Conference one. And Drew is good. I think that they could reasonably be the best team in the East, and they'll probably be the 1 seed again. And hopefully this time they'll play Giannis more than 30 minutes per game in the playoffs.
What a dumb thing!
That'll hopefully change everything. Like it's really tough, and I think I am at a point now where I think Giannis is going to stay in Milwaukee. I do feel like that's where this is heading. We haven't really heard anything otherwise. That's kind of where I'm landing now, as much as I would like him to be a Dallas Maverick.
That's totally fair. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get on to a new segment, the biggest NBA headlines. This is just a prediction, but we are here to make your jaws drop and hopefully get you even more angry at Kevin than I am on a daily basis. So John, we'll start with you first. What's your prediction? Biggest headline for this season?
Right. Well, I'm going to stay on brand. And look, a great entertainer is always looking to one up their last big show. And that's what we're going to see this year with Luka Doncic, who will win the MVP. And will take the Dallas Mavericks to the Western Conference Finals, where they will lose to the Los Angeles Lakers when Kristaps Porzingis tears his other meniscus.
Are we going to a game 7 though?
No, we're going maybe 6. I think I think we can get 6 games out of Luka. Luka has shown that, hey, Luka was able to push around Kawhi Leonard in the playoffs. Like, this guy is not afraid of the moment. No one can stop him. I think that this is actually, I really do believe they're going to be a Western Conference Finals team, assuming they're mostly healthy, which is a big if with Kristaps Porzingis. But I love the guys they brought in. And Jalen Brunson's coming back. I love Jalen Brunson as a point guard off the bench. So
That's totally fair. I absolutely love all the Luka hype. I am all for him.
Oh, it's coming up a year.
Oh, it's gonna be great, man! I can't wait. Kevin, what do you got for the big NBA headline this season?
I gotta agree with John a little bit. Like, you gotta take something from this year and hype it up a little bit extra, take it a step above. I'm saying Lakers get 70 regular season wins this season.
2 games.
They lose 2 games.
They go off absolutely obscene, and they sweep the finals. Maybe they have a little rocky playoffs, but they sweep the finals. Lakers absolutely obliterated.
Okay.
Yo, Dennis Harold, LeBron, 80, unstoppable.
So we have Kevin living in the fantasy world of hype.
That's the biggest NBA headlines. I gave you
Actually, not really a fantasy. I'm not gonna lie. If anything's gonna happen, the Lakers are gonna dominate this year. So, Sam, who do you got for me? What do you got for me?
Look at this. Imagine this, boys. The New York Post reads, Brook win after they win the NBA Finals at this point. All right. I think the thing is with the Brooklyn Nets, as soon as they moved, they were still shitty. They were shitty their entire career, basically. Darren Williams, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, it didn't work out. They brought Joe Johnson, still didn't work out. They revamped it. My boy Kenny Atkinson, who is probably the only reason the Clippers will be good, because Kenny Atkinson's a goddamn good coach at this point. He carried and remade this Nets team into a bunch of young guys. Didn't really have much. I think basically no potential. That's kind of what they were labeled as at this point. But they got Spencer Dinwiddie, who came out of nowhere and really blew us away. Karis LeVert, I mean, dropping 50 on a couple of those nights against really good teams, unreal. Jared Allen, I think Kevin and I, we just had this like weird affection for like Jared Allen and just like UT Austin bigs. I don't know what it is, like Miles Turner, Tristan Thompson. Like, I'm for it. I don't know what else they can produce at this point. But and now to add Kyrie Irving, who has had experience winning a title with probably the greatest player in this generation right now, and to team up with sadly, he'll have to call him the second best player in this generation because he's with LeBron at this point. But Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and potentially bigger moves at this point. We don't even know, but this team we haven't seen Kyrie play more than 15 games. You know, this team has a lot of potential to really make a statement. And, you know, they were an 8th seed or 7th seed entering this playoffs without 4 of their best players. Yeah, that's pretty good still, in my opinion. So Brook win. That's what we're going to be. We're all going to be wearing those kooky sweater, repping up in Brooklyn. All right. I see you guys there.
All right, I've got. I'm gonna just really quickly say my 2 headlines, and they both surround the Boston Celtics. The first headline is that Taco Fall has the most blocks in the entire league. I had to put some fun out there for a minute. But no, I think what's gonna happen is, and this is like a pipe dream of mine, but we're here for the hype. Celtics get number 1, get first seed in the East. I think they use that trade exemption that they have to make their team much better than what it is right now. They've already been making the moves with Tristan Thompson to get that big that they've needed, especially the floor spacer that they've needed. Jason Tatum is going to blow up the entire league. He's going to be on fire. He's going to be one of the best players in the NBA season. I'm just going to spew out random Boston Celtics things that I'm hoping will happen. David will grow another foot and become a god. And who knows? We're wild out here.
So basically, what you're saying is they're going to be a 1 seed, but then still losing the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? I just want that 1 seed for the Boston Celtics. That's all I want. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching and listening to the podcast. You guys can find us on Twitter and Instagram at the Deep 3 Pod. You guys could also find us on YouTube, see our beautiful faces and Kevin's. And then you could also see Sam's shaven face, which I'm not going to lie is very different from what I'm used to for these past.
What's that supposed to mean?
Thank you guys so much.
Hey, also, you guys get on out there, watch the motherfucking intern corner, baby. Get to it.
Oh, yeah.
Keep it down, all right?
Budget for this big thing he has to do.
Yes, the intern corner is a very, very new, interesting part of the podcast. Actually, not the podcast, but YouTube. So check that out because it's loads of fun. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast, and have a good night. Peace out.
Bucks and 6.